Welcome back to the Candy Shop. After our deep dive into Michael and Diana, so many of you in the replay crew were talking about the loneliness of fame. It got me thinking about another legend who had one person, just one, who truly knew the woman behind the voice. Today we're talking about Whitney Houston and Robyn Crawford. For decades, the media whispered and the industry pressured them, but the truth is much deeper than a headline. This was a bond built on survival, loyalty, and a love that redefined what a soulmate really is. Grab your tea because we're looking at receipts of a 30-year bond that the world tried to break. Before we get started though, a quick disclaimer. This video is based on publicly available interviews, memoirs, and historical accounts. Unless otherwise stated, any opinions expressed are speculation and commentary. This is for discussion, education, and entertainment as we explore the lives of these icons. Now let's get into the tea. So, it all started in the summer of 1980 in East Orange, New Jersey. Whitney was 16, Robyn was 19. They were both counselors at a community center. This was before the gowns, before the Grammys, and before she was The Voice. Robyn famously said that when she first saw Whitney, she looked like an angel, but they became instant best friends. They were both athletes, both driven, and they both became each other's safe harbor. Most of the people we associate with Whitney Houston met the superstar. They met the woman with the record deals and the expectations, but Robyn met the girl who still had dreams she wasn't sure would come true. Their connection wasn't built on fame or status. It was built before any of those things even existed. Before Whitney became one of the biggest stars on the planet, she was simply a teenager trying to figure out who she wanted to be. Robyn knew that version of Whitney, the version before the pressure, before the spotlight, and before the world began demanding pieces of her. But as Whitney's career began to skyrocket, the pressure from the industry and even her own family became intense. Robyn revealed that in 1982, right after Whitney signed her big deal with Clive Davis, Whitney came to her with a gift, a blue Bible. She told Robyn that they had to stop their physical relationship because it would make their journey even harder. They made a pact to keep their bond private to protect Whitney's dream. Think about the sacrifice that took. To choose a dream over the heart at only 19 years old. Let that sink in. They knew that in the early 80s, one wrong move or rumor could end everything Whitney had worked for. So they made a decision that would shape the rest of their lives. Ending the romance didn't end the bond, though. In some ways, it made it even stronger. And if you think their story ended there, wait until you hear why Robyn eventually walked away after 2 decades by Whitney's side, which is so unfortunate. So, the pact wasn't just a promise, it became their daily reality. As Whitney became a global icon, Robyn transitioned from a secret partner to a visible protector. She was Whitney's executive assistant, her creative director, and her gatekeeper. And if you've ever watched old Whitney interviews, concert footage, or behind the scenes clips, chances are you've seen Robyn nearby. She wasn't looking for fame. Most casual fans didn't even know her name, but the people around Whitney knew exactly who she was and how influence she had, or how much influence she had. People around them said Robyn was the only one who could tell Whitney the truth. When the world was saying yes to everything, Robyn was the one saying, "Nippy, you need to rest," or "Nippy, this isn't you." She was the anchor in the storm that was getting more and more chaotic. When everyone else is applauding, sometimes the most valuable person in your life is the one willing to tell you the truth. And ain't that a word? But as we're about to see, the next chapter would test their bond in ways neither of them could imagine, or basically could have imagined. By the late 90s, the environment became toxic between the pressures of fame and Whitney's deepening struggles. Robyn eventually realized she couldn't save Whitney if Whitney wasn't ready to save herself. One of the hardest lessons in life is realizing that loving someone doesn't always mean you can save them. Sometimes the strongest act of love is recognizing that you've done everything you can and stepping back when staying only causes more pain. In 2000, after 20 years by her side, Robyn walked away from the Whitney Houston machine. Not because she stopped loving her, but because it hurt too much to watch her friends slip away. But the most shocking part of their story isn't how it ended, it's what Robyn did years after Whitney was gone. So basically, when Whitney passed in 2012, Robyn didn't run to the camera. She stayed quiet for years, protecting Whitney's dignity just like she'd always done. It wasn't until their memoir came out in 2019 that we truly understood the depth of what they shared. So basically, what struck many readers wasn't just the revelation about the relationship, it was the tenderness. Robyn could have spent years chasing interviews or trying to profit from Whitney's name. Instead, she stayed silent. When she finally spoke, it wasn't a story of scandal, it was a story of loyalty. And maybe that's why this story still resonates today. At its core, it isn't really about celebrity. It's about having that one person who knows who you are before the world tells you who you're supposed to be. The one person who remembers you before the fame, before the pressure, and before everyone wanted something from you. It was about two girls from Jersey who promised to have each other's backs no matter what. So in closing, I just want to say, replay crew, I have to ask, do you think Whitney would have had a different ending if Robyn had stayed, or was the industry just too big for any one person to stop the cycle? And maybe the bigger question is this: how many people ever get to have a friendship or a love that lasts a lifetime, even after life pulls them apart? Drop a comment below. If you're feeling this vintage tea era of the candy shop, make sure you're subscribed. We've got a lot more stories to uncover. I'm your host, and I'll see you next time.
Welcome
Bye.
to the candy shop, where the glow don't ever stop.